dreams were your ticket out. Welcome back to that same old place you laughed about. Well, the names have all changed since you hung around, but those dreams have remained and they've turned around. Who'd have thought they'd lead ya here where we need ya? We tease him a lot, 'cause we got him on the spot. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back.
I hate Fallout 3. That's an opinion I held for a very long time. When I first started working on this video, I had a much different idea of where it was going to go. About 10 hours into my playthrough though, I found that I was enjoying myself. I was having fun with the game. Even though there was, and still are, things about the game that I generally do not like at all, I enjoyed it. I don't love Fallout 3, and I don't think I ever will, but I've grown to appreciate it. At the very least, I think I could say that I like Fallout 3, and that perhaps I was a bit too harsh on it in the past. I think it's also safe to say that I still have mixed feelings about the game, and I still think Bethesda half-bakes their ideas, but I can't sit here and lie to you. I had fun with the game. I enjoyed playing Fallout 3 again. You saw the thumbnail. I don't have much of a thesis for you. I just want to talk about Fallout 3 for a bit. In spite of that intro I gave, I am going to rip the band-aid off right away and just get it over with. I hate Fallout 3's plot. I didn't like it then, and I don't like it now. It's the least interesting part of the game to me. I feel that way about Oblivion and Skyrim too, by the way. Fun world to explore, very uninteresting story. Throughout Fallout 3, the main questline feels very railroady, as if they didn't think that maybe I'd hate the Brotherhood of Steel and want to side against them, and that I don't feel like carrying out my father's work. I don't like that Fallout 3, and 4 for that matter, make the main hook of the plot lines one of blood. It feels like a more forced way of making me go along with the story. More so than the original games did with their hooks of saving your hometowns. The less that's set in stone about a Fallout protagonist, the better. It's why I hate the childhood section of the vault so much. Other than taking too damn long, it feels restrictive about who the player can be. I could deal with the lone wanderer being from a vault. We've done that before, and it makes for a good fish out of water story. I don't really have a problem with that at all, especially since you're trying to get new players into the game who have no idea about anything Fallout. What I don't like is that I'm told who my parents are, who my friends are, who my bullies are, what my childhood was like, what my adolescence was like. Do you see where I'm going with this? No matter what I do, the lone wanderer is always going to be some 19-year-old kid who's looking for their father. Nothing you can do will change that either. It's just part of the game. It feels way more restrictive than Elder Scrolls games do. Say what you will about Skyrim, but at least in that game, you're not forced to be some 19-year-old punk kid who has to find his parents. No, the Dragonborn is whoever you want them to be. If they had just made the baseline that you were from the vault and then you pick everything else, then that's fine. The first game did that and it was fine. Even in the negatives here though, I can find some positives. While I don't like the childhood sections of the game, I do like seeing what life was like in the vault. Vault 101 looks more lived in than Vault 13 did, and I suppose that makes sense. They have been living under here for 200 years. This being the first game with full 3D environments like this also helps a lot, and no, I'm not counting that game. It isn't too often in a Fallout game that we actually get to talk to people who currently live in a vault. We could talk to people who don't live in them anymore, like Vault City for example, but it's rare we actually get to talk to people who currently live in a vault. In fact, I think this might be one of the only examples of that, aside from Vault 13 of course, but most of the people in Vault 13 don't have much of anything to say to you. Honestly, the Vault stuff is probably some of the more interesting parts of this game. Vault 112 is horrifying and I love it. I've said in my past Fallout videos that the clean vaults feel too clean. I imagine they smell like hospitals and it makes me uncomfortable. Vault 112 is really clean too, but it doesn't evoke that hospital feeling in me. Vault 112 reminds me of a cold, dark server room. Walking around, I can imagine this place being just cold enough to make short sleeves uncomfortable. I also find it really interesting how cut off from the rest of the world this place is. It's not in a state of decay at all. In fact, you'd probably not even know the world ended when you're in here. I can just imagine this place sitting here untouched for 200 years. All kinds of indescribable horror and madness is happening outside those blast doors, while inside these walls, the residents are completely unaware of it all. What's truly horrifying is that these are the original residents of Vault 112. They've been living in stasis pods in basically a form of the Matrix for the past 200 years. And this would be all well and good, but You have to remember this is a Vault-Tec vault, and the Overseer's a psychopath. Whenever he gets bored, he just kills them all and starts a new scenario. Because he turned on the failsafes, no one can actually die in here. So when you die in the game, you don't die in real life. He's really created his own I have no mouth and I must scream scenario, where he gets to be Am. And there's no happy ending when you come here either. You either have to mercy kill all these residents by turning off the failsafe and having them all die, or you leave them here to be tormented for basically forever. It feels very typical of what should happen in a Fallout game. There isn't always a happy ending to things. Sometimes things are just gonna suck. I don't think I can overstate how much I like Vault 112. It's probably one of the best parts of Fallout 3. It may not be my favorite location in the game, but it's definitely high up there. And there are a number of locations in Fallout 3 that are pretty good. In fact, I'd say they're great. They give me that same feeling that Necropolis does in the original Fallout game. Olney was once a bustling little city, but now it's just a graveyard filled with Deathclaws. There's not many reasons to go here until very late into the game, but it's such a cool location to explore anyway. This is something Fallout 3 does quite well. For what the game lacks in writing and story, it makes up for in interesting locations to explore. Even if there's nothing really there, it's just cool to see the place and walk around. Some of these locations are better than others. I think Little Lamplighter's kinda stupid, but the satellites way out in Virginia are really fun to find, and Tacoma Park might be the best location in the game. Well, at least it's my favorite location in the game. Like its predecessors, Fallout 3 captures that feeling of morbid Sonder quite well. Fallout felt like a dead world reborn, small pockets of humanity rebuilding in a desolate wasteland, a post-apocalypse. Fallout 2 felt like a world reborn growing into its own, full of city-states that were thriving and smaller towns that were struggling and trying to make it. Fallout 3 doesn't feel like the next step of progress in that world, but instead a return to what the first game had, a feeling of disarray and death. The world of Fallout 3 feels almost truly dead with no hope of recovery, as opposed to the West Coast where people are not only surviving, but thriving. Life is far from perfect, but it's also a lot more manageable than it is in the capital Wasteland. Even if we forego the NCR, I'd take a hard life in New Reno or Freeside any day over the capital Wasteland. There are tiny pockets of civilization in the capital Wasteland trying to rebuild, but for the most part, it's hostile to all human life. Fallout 3 has a lot of style over substance when it comes to its world building sometimes. Yet another bold take for me, I think Megaton is stupid and doesn't make any sense. A Junktown-inspired shantytown built up like a favela from Brazil is a really cool idea for a Fallout game. But I think building it around a bomb is a bridge too far for me. Sorry. At this point, it feels like beating a dead horse already to talk about Megaton, so I'll just move on and talk about things I do like. The city of DC is in rough shape, and it acts as the centerpiece for Fallout 3. I also think it's the reason most people like this game so much. Walking around and exploring the streets of DC is some of the best parts of this game. It's slightly held back by being a Gen 7 game, but even then they do a good job of making the city feel bigger by breaking up into different chunks with loading zones. I find it annoying sometimes just having to walk around and find the loading gate to get into the area, but hey, it does capture that feeling of a rotting, desolate city pretty well. There's also this fantastic blend of Art Deco style buildings that Fallout is known for, and the neoclassical architecture that you'd find in the real DC. Tacoma Park exerts everything I'd expect from a 3D Fallout game. The layout of the buildings in this part of DC feels just right. It's hard to put it in words, so I'm going to stop yapping for a moment and just show you what I'm talking about. The real shame is that this area of DC is really easy to miss. I'm not even certain I found it on my first time playing. I'm willing to bet there's at least one person watching this video right now that's never seen Tacoma Park before. They might even have a couple hundred hours in the game and never been here. Tacoma Park might be my favorite area of the game, but the actual magnum opus of Fallout 3 is definitely the National Mall. The scale they use in-game doesn't do the real mall any justice, but this replica is close enough that most people wouldn't notice unless they live there or have visited the place. It's odd to me that the Supreme Court and the Library of Congress are missing, and by that I don't mean that they've been nuked or a crater like the White House was. I mean the buildings just aren't there, and I get it, they only have so much time. If they added those buildings but blocked them off, people would be disappointed that you can't go in there. So it might be better to just pay it no mind and not even put it in the game. They at least made sure locations that most people would actually care to visit in DC, such as the Washington and Lincoln monuments, were there and not in complete ruin. Something well known about Fallout 3 is that Bethesda wanted the Washington Monument to be visible from the far ends of the map. While this is far from realistic when you go to some of these real-life locations, for a video game it's a really nice touch. The Washington Monument's also one of the first things you spot when you come out of Vault 101. The true crown jewel to Bethesda's version of DC is the Capitol building. From the outside, it's stunning how well they captured how large the Capitol building really is. I'd argue it's the most iconic building in the real DC. It's definitely the building I remember the clearest when I visited the place when I was a lot younger. And to date myself even further, this was before Fallout 3 came out. There's some fun combat to be had in the interiors, but overall it's a little bit of a letdown. I think it could have been fun to go into a couple offices of long-gone congressmen and senators, but there's really nothing there. Any way to peek behind the curtain a little bit more in this world is always fun to me, and seeing what some congressmen or senators were up to in this world would have been really cool. I think I can forgive that though, because they really did nail the Hall of Columns. They even added a little bit of Fallout flair to the place. And even in its broken state, the rotunda is still really impressive. They really went all out to make sure that this room did look special. Like the Hall of Columns, they add their own little bit of flair to it to make it fit Fallout a bit better, but it still looks close enough to the actual rotunda that you wouldn't really notice. It can be hard to see it with the fidelity of the game, and I think it is supposed to be faded, but the painting is on the dome also. That's a cool touch. Going back to the National Mall, Bethesda took some liberties with a few buildings, such as the Smithsonian and the Air and Space Museum. The displays inside these museums mimic or approximate their real-life counterparts. Reading the displays is tragic. All these things from our shared history on Earth are left forgotten about. In the real world, the Wright brothers glider is on display in the Smithsonian for all to see. It's an achievement not only for America, but for mankind. When you find it in the Museum of Technology, it's tattered and smashed up. This once great piece of human achievement is now left forgotten about to rot away and decay in a building. There's a terrible irony here when you consider what the Smithsonian is actually for, and how easy it is that everything we know could be lost forever. This is completely unrelated, but you should definitely read Earth Abides. On a lighter note, it's well known at this point that the DC Metro in Fallout 3 is near spot on to how it looks in real life. They add some things like Art Deco flair to make it feel more Fallout, but the aesthetics of the actual Metro are intact. They blended in real-world locations with a couple of made-up ones that, from an outsider's perspective, they're never going to notice. I'm sure a DC local could nitpick the train stops to death, but hey. Some people find the Metro confusing, but I find that reading the map actually helps a lot. Shocker. Maybe my real-life experiences with trains helps, I don't know. I wish more people lived down there. I'm a big fan of the Metro books, so that influence is definitely why I feel that way. Unlike the Metro books, only a couple of people live in the Metro. There's this oddball group of weirdos who are violating the masquerade down there. And there's also loads of ghouls and other monsters too. And no, they're not actually vampires. I'd say it feels out of place in Fallout, but when you allow talking Deathclaws and ghouls who play Magic the Gathering in your last game, are vampire LARPers really that crazy? This isn't to say that the game never takes itself seriously.
You can tell Tenpenny he can kiss my ass. We've got plenty of bottle caps. Let me in, goddammit.
How many times do we have to go through this? You're not getting in.
I can stand here all day yelling at you through this damn speaker if I have to.
I've already told you Tenpenny won't allow zombies to live here.
Who the hell are you calling a zombie?
You're definitely not human, that's for damn sure. For the last time, no zombies allowed.
Can't you tell the difference between me and a feral? Fine, I'll show you the goddamn difference. Just you wait. You'll get yours, all of you.
While I don't find Tenpenny Tower all that interesting of a location, the dilemma found there is a great one. The residents of Tenpenny Tower don't want to allow the ghouls in because they're worried they might go feral and start killing them all. The ghouls want to live in the safety of Tenpenny Tower because they're tired of living in the Metro where it's quite dangerous. There is a bunch of xenophobia when it comes to ghouls in Fallout 3. I'd say it's on par with Vault City, maybe even more. In Fallout 2, the community of ghouls just wanted to be left alone and build their town around the power plant outside of Vault City. The leader of Vault City, however, wanted these ghouls eradicated because she said that the power plant is leaking radiation and that the ghouls are doing this intentionally as an act of war. In Fallout 2, killing those peaceful ghouls is definitely wrong. However, in Fallout 3, they flipped this on its head. You'd think that helping the oppressed ghouls gain passage into the tower would be the best thing to do.
Well, perhaps you're right, comrade. Some of these folk have a few things to learn about camaraderie, that's for sure. Well, all right. I'm willing to give them a chance.
Well, you seem like you know what you're talking about. I guess I'd be willing to give it a try. I might not spend much time with them. And if they do anything stupid, I'm sure they'll get kicked out. Fine. It's okay.
Oh, I see. Well, I've never met one, so I wouldn't know. I just always thought. I guess I really don't know what I thought. I know you've been talking to the others about the ghouls, and I've been mulling the whole thing over a few cocktails. Well, more than a few. And I've decided that I'd be willing to give it a go. Having ghoul neighbors, I mean. What the hell? Sure.
If you convince the people of the tower that the ghouls are no different from them and that they should just coexist, the ghouls will repay this favor by killing everybody inside.
Haha, hey there, bud. Thanks again for helping us get in here. They had it coming, but I don't have to justify myself to you or any other smooth skin. In fact, you'd best piss off if you don't want to join them.
You've all seen the green text. Make of that what you will. This is an instance where not getting involved is the best thing you can do. Slavery was a reoccurring theme throughout Fallout 2, and it's once again back in Fallout 3. You'll encounter slaves as you play, but never on the same level as Fallout 2. It's actually a bit surprising how rare it is to find slaves in Fallout 3, outside of the DLC, the Pitt, of course. This is one of the game's failings. They have a well-established slave market, but no slaves can be found outside of Paradise Falls. Not one town you come across has slavery like Vault City or the Den did. It's also a bit odd that you don't find that many slaves, considering that you can become a slaver. That's right, like in Fallout 2, you could become a slaver. Unlike Fallout 2 though, you're not given a face tattoo to mark you as a slaver. There was a bit of irony to this in Fallout 2. You might round people up and sell them into slavery, but by choosing that line of work, everyone in the world knows you're a slaver. There are a large number of NPCs that will refuse to talk to you or might even shoot at you on sight. There are consequences for becoming a slaver in that game. The only punishment for becoming a slaver in Fallout 3 is losing karma.
Sure. What's this thing for, anyway?
You could become a slaver and lose karma and then gain it back by just handing out water bottles to the homeless like you're some sort of Wasteland influencer. With all that said, the act of being a slaver in Fallout 3 is far more sinister than it was in 2. There's no objections. What you're doing is evil. It might be the most evil act you can commit in this game. And yes, I am stacking that against nuking Megaton. The victims of Megaton never knew what hit them. It was all over in a flash. Every slave you capture has a long and miserable life ahead of them. When talking to them, they sound fearful of the life you've just sentenced them to.
Okay, hey, this thing feels weird. Can I take it off now? Nothing personal, but I'm a person. I'm going, don't hurt me.
Money! I'm a slave! Where's this Paradise Falls? This collar will explode, won't it? I've heard about these things.
I'm a slave now? Don't kill me, please. I'm going.
The way you capture slaves is also vile. You have to zap them with this gun that dazes them and makes them subject to suggestion. After that, you strap a bomb collar to their neck like it's Battle Royale. They might beg and cry about it, but each slave is worth 250 caps, and you gotta make a living, right? By the time I was working on this video, I had sold 40 people to Paradise Falls, making a cool 10,000 caps. The Pitt DLC expanded on slavery in ways the main game never did. You're given a moral dilemma where both sides are led by bad actors. Ishmael Asher isn't a good man, and he knows that. He's running a gulag with the idea that the ends will justify the means. His newborn baby holds the cure to the troglodyte disease that's killing everybody in the area and turning them into monsters. Without the troglodyte disease rotting everyone away, Pittsburgh would grow into a real industrial powerhouse. The problem lies that you have to take Asher at his word that he'll free the slaves when this cure is found.
Right now, nothing. Until we can reproduce a treatment from Marie, you'll have to keep working. Otherwise, this city falls apart. But once we do have a cure, things will be different. We won't need to kidnap people for our city. We'll be able to grow naturally.
And even if he is telling the truth, that doesn't mean his underlings would be willing to give up the power they have over the slaves. Werner, a man part of the slave revolt, is an opportunist with no real idea what he's doing, and also has very questionable motives. His objections to Asher don't seem to be over the well-being of Pittsburgh, but more of a personal grudge. He wants the player to kidnap the baby so their side can find the cure first, thinking they have the means to do so. If you side against him by objecting to kidnap a baby, he's willing to turn his back on the whole city and run away.
Sure, fine. Obviously, you've joined with Asher, and I think you've got a bright future as a lackey. You really do. But you know what? Fuck this city, and fuck the raiders, fuck the slaves, and fuck you too, fucker. I'm gone.
Unfortunately, this is such a bare-bones explanation of what happens in the pit, and I really could talk about the pit way longer than this. In fact, I had 2.5 pages written on it originally, but this video is already getting pretty long. It's far better written than the main game is, and I find the two antagonists a lot more interesting than President Eden or Colonel Autumn. Unfortunately, the other DLCs aren't as good as the pit. I kinda like parts of Point Lookout, and the other DLCs I find either boring or just awful nonsense. The spy quest line in Point Lookout is one of the best quests in the entire game. I love when these games give us a peek into what life was like before the bombs dropped. Throughout Point Lookout, you can track down and follow this mission of a Chinese spy who was stationed in Point Lookout before the war started. You're given an idea of how the US was treating Chinese nationals and captured spies, and it's not something Geneva would like very much. And if you ever wondered why there were so many Chinese AKs all over the capital Wasteland, this spy mission will lead the player to a hidden bunker with tons and tons of them. Well, not really tons of them, but you get the idea. It's clear the Chinese were planning a land invasion of the country. I said before that something I do in these games is walk around and have this feeling of morbid sonder. During this spy mission, I can play out the life of someone who lived in this world and see the things they were meant to. I can walk around and put myself in their shoes, wondering what it must have been like to live in this place when people were actually here. This small little vacation town in the wetlands of Maryland. While I don't find the main quest of Point Lookout all that interesting or enjoyable, I do think the atmosphere is great. This place has what the kids would call a whole vibe. Speaking of vibes, the radio station GNR has a number of tracks that I put on my personal playlist when I'm in the mood for that type of music. I do find more enjoyment out of the track selection in New Vegas, not because I like that game more, but because I like big band and country western over show tunes and the other genres chosen for Fallout 3. I might have a preference, but the music of GNR is still enjoyable, with songs ranging from the 1930s until 1950. I think they could have done with a couple more 50s and maybe even 60s songs, but the ones on display seem fine. They also are handpicked for the game. I mean, of course they were handpicked for the game. By that I mean that it feels intentionally incongruous with the backdrop of this world, with tracks like Let's Go Sunning or Anything Goes. These upbeat songs have a very odd feeling when you're walking around this desolate wasteland. You also have Enclave Radio. The Enclave Radio plays very cheery and patriotic music that feels incongruous with the hellscape that's left of America. These upbeat songs of a nation long gone, as Dr. Loomis, President Eden, spews out these fireside chats about how great the country was and how great it will be again once the Enclave take over. President Eden might be bullshitting me, but at least he's not annoying compared to 3 Dog.
This is 3 Dog! Ow! And you're listening to Galaxy News Radio.
I don't like 3 Dog. He's a man who never wants to get his hands dirty. He thinks sitting on top of his tower, being a voice of the people, is just as important as the actions the Brotherhood of Steel or the player are doing.
You've got to understand, if I die, so does the voice of the people. I can't take that risk. Your idea of saving the world means combing through the rubble and using a gun. I use my voice. We're two sides of the same coin. If you think always being a target of your enemies is safe, then you got a funny way of looking at things.
He also thinks he can badmouth me on the radio when I have bad karma like I won't find out.
I've gotten to the point where that piece of shit from Vault 101 can't even be considered human. Am I right? The latest on that demon spawn.
3 Dog sure likes to talk a lot of shit for a man who's in quick save range. What's so funny is for how important he thought he was, after I killed him, no one really seemed to care at all. That one technician who now has to play the music seems to care, but I think she's just mad that she has to do her job now.
It's me again, Margaret the technician, talking into the microphone and hoping somebody gives a shit. Enjoy the music.
The Brotherhood of Steel outside of GNR didn't seem to care I killed him, but then again, the Brotherhood of Steel don't even seem to be all that bothered when I massacred all their units inside the Citadel. Or maybe I would massacre them all if this game actually let me kill all the NPCs. I don't know what happened to Bethesda between the time of Morrowind and Fallout 3, but something that's become really annoying to me about their games is how they have these immortal NPCs that are plot essential, meaning I can't kill them even if I find them incredibly annoying. Moments like this are why I feel like Fallout 3 railroads me sometimes. I can act like a homicidal murder hobo, and the Brotherhood of Steel will talk to me like I'm a great guy. I know I said I'm not going to talk about this game's story or its plot, and that's true, I'm not going to. But this is a bit frustrating that for the vast majority of the game, you're forced to side with the Brotherhood of Steel, and can only betray them in the final hour, metaphorically. I suppose you can further betray them in Broken Steel by using that orbital strike to wipe out the Citadel, which is kind of fun, but I don't really count it as joining the Enclave, since the Enclave are still hostile and shoot you on sight. Just as well, half of my captured slaves were Enclave anyway, so it's no surprise they don't like me. The ending of Fallout 3, even amongst its fans, is a bit controversial. I've spoken with many a fan who love Fallout 3 but still hate the ending. Killing off the player by telling them that it was fate in a series that is dedicated to free will is a bold choice. All because Fox says it was your destiny to die in that chamber of radiation poisoning at the ripe old age of 19, instead of him going in there himself and pressing 4 buttons because, you know, it's your destiny. So it was okay for me to alter fate when I freed him from that awful vault he was stuck in, but now that it's time for him to return the favor and alter fate once again, he won't do it. How convenient. They do retcon this later on when they release the Broken Steel DLC by allowing Fox to now go into that chamber.
I would say that your destiny lies within that chamber, but you have already altered mine.
Bethesda still does give you this passive-aggressive narration about how Fox is the real hero and that you failed your father.
It was not until the end of this long road that the lone wanderer was faced with that greatest of virtues, sacrifice. But the child refused to follow the father's selfless example, instead allowing a true hero to venture into the irradiated control chamber of Project Purity.
The fuck I did. I found the Gek, I blew up Raven Rock, I removed the Enclave from DC. I'm the hero. Another thing, why did none of my choices actually matter in the end? There are barely any ending slides whatsoever with narration in this game for any of the choices you made. Whether you helped them or doomed them, there's nothing about Megaton, there's nothing about Tenpenny Tower, there's nothing about Andale, there's nothing about the Republic of Dave, there's nothing about the vampires who live in the Metro, nothing. Not a single thing about them. They're not worthy of an ending slide, apparently. They really dropped the ball here. Even fans of Fallout 3 probably think this is disappointing, though they do love the game in spite of that. While making this video, I went from hating this game to liking it. I tried my best to focus more on what I enjoyed about Fallout 3 instead of hating it, despite the fact that I just ranted a little bit about the ending. And I guess the key word there is tried. I didn't want this to turn into yet another video of a Fallout New Vegas fan just dunking on Fallout 3. Fallout 3 fans have been hearing what people don't like about this game for nearly 20 years already. It's been beat to death. I'm not a very big fan of what Bethesda's done to Fallout, or Bethesda in general for that matter, but I don't think 3 is as awful as people make it out to be. How bad I used to make it out to be. For a long time, it sort of eluded me why people like this game so much. This, of course, coming from someone who has the perspective of liking the older games more. I wasn't too crazy about what they did with the lore, and I think they kind of flanderized it a bit too much with that 1950s stuff. It had also been so long since I actually played the game myself that I kind of forgot what the experience was like. It didn't take all that long for it to hit me though. This right here. This is what they enjoyed. It's something about the aesthetics, it just sits right. The way the buildings look, the way the rubble is all piled up in the streets, the way the lighting hits everything. The whole look of this place is just asking to be explored. And that's what it's about, exploring. For years I've read comments and heard people talk about how they like exploring in 3 more than New Vegas. It kinda pains me to say this, but I get it. I might not agree with it, but I get it. I don't know if or when I'll play Fallout 3 again, but I know my opinion of it has drastically changed. It was in those moments when I was ignoring the plot to poke around the streets of DC, when I was crawling around in the metros, when I was acting like a complete menace. When I learned to stop being a hater and learned to just have fun in Fallout 3.